Yo, guys, good morning. It is Sunday. I have a coffee cup. It has a tank on it. There's a tank behind me. It must be coffee talk. But it must be time for coffee talk. How's everybody doing on this Sunday? I'm doing great. It's the end of the year. It's the 29th of December, and we're going to do kind of one of these end year specials. I know it's not terribly clever, but that's what we're going to do. First, though, we're going to go through the standard coffee talk stuff, and then at the end, we're going to talk numbers and how the channel's going and the things that have happened over the year. So if you're not interested in the numbers or the journey of Guido's content creation, you just want the tank stuff, we'll front load that, and you can ignore the back end, so, so to speak. We'll get to this coffee cup in a minute. That was sent by somebody when we get back to the looking at the year in review. But what's been going on this week in World of Tanks? Well, I've been playing Tier 10 lights, and holy cow, that's painful. I love light tanks. You guys see me play them a lot. I do pretty well in light tanks. I've ignored the Tier 10s for the most part because I ignore most Tier 10s. I find Tier 10 to be a dumpster fire, but that's a whole different subject we won't get into today. But I've been playing those because there's been a big argument on the forum, and has been since the Brit Lights have been put out, about how bad the Manticore is. So I started playing the Manticore, got it up to 100 battles. We'll talk about that sometime in the future. And then I said, you know what, let's just play some of these other Tier 10s and see what's going on. And wow, painful. Now 55% win rate, not bad, but the win 8 down at like 1800. Win 8 down at 1800. They just struggle. They really do in this meta, but it's been fun. I have enjoyed it. Probably every other game I've enjoyed it because I've been deleted so easily from most games with these things. Holy cow. 4005s appear to have it out for me, good fellas. They are really after me. My next stream should be tomorrow on Monday. My plan is from 9 to 12 or so Central Time. That's a TBD. Make that a soft schedule. I plan on streaming at least twice, maybe 3 times this coming week. I'm off until Friday, but we've got the New Year's and all that stuff going on as well, so we'll see how all that goes. Looking for at least twice, though. What else? Oh, here's one thing for my Guido's Flying Circus guys. Hey, I'm looking for, if one of you guys wants to take over as the commander for the clan. I don't have the time to do it justice, I guess, is the point here. I need to have about as much time doing what I'm doing with my channel and the streaming in order to do justice for the clan. This is not I don't want to shut down the clan or anything silly like that. I know you guys you're awesome. I try to get there as much as I can, which is a lot less than I would like. But if somebody wants to take over, I'll be the figurehead. Not that I'm in control of it or anything. If you're the commander, you're the commander. But if somebody wants to do that, please contact me. Let me know, and hopefully we can go from there. If somebody wants to just simply take over as, no kidding, the driving force and leave me as the commander, I don't care about that either. That's fine. I just need somebody who's willing or interested in organizing and getting things going. I know there's a couple of you doing that anyway, basically de facto commander, but if you're interested in taking it over and going from there, then I would support that. Let me know. All right, that's enough of that business. Let's move on to the missions and specials. What's going on in World of Tanks? Hey, who wants to buy some boxes? Well, this is pretty lucky. Hey, let me turn up my cool LED lights here that I just installed. We'll talk about that in the... Oh, I turned them off. Look what happened there. I just installed these and got these from donations, basically, from you guys supporting the channel, upgrades to the channel. We'll get to that later on. But this is kind of lucky. I was looking at this not just 30 minutes ago, and when I came back here to set this up for this next segment, I noticed that the January sneak preview has showed up. So let's do this real time. We'll go through this together. Premium shop offer. So right now we've got the 7501K. I don't know. I don't know why that was the 20. Why was the 7501K the final advent calendar tank? Well, I don't know. We're going to get into more of that because we got foreshadowing. We have some awesome Makarov interview and Paul Barnett. Good stuff. So just wait for it. First we shill, all right? So make sure you're still spending money, guys. What's coming up? January 1st to February 1st, Steal of a Deal. Okay, that's just more premium. Because what I would do if I was wargaming, after after I did all these boxes that gave all kinds of premium time and gold, my very first special would be more premium days in a T7 combat car because I'm sure people are going to. Wow. T-34 shielded. Okay. Tiger 131. I don't know if I have that. I might not even have that one. ISU 130. There's a good one. The 4190. Okay, so those are the premium shop. So no big deal. Player tank class right. Tournament missions. Okay, those are standard. Hey, by the way, the times 5s, we'll get this in a minute, but the times 4 and times 5s right now are great experience multipliers. We'll talk about a weird thing about it that I don't get, but we'll get to that in a minute. Yeah, we've got some crew XP, yada yada. Holiday Ops goes to January 14th, so there's, in theory, still some good things going on. Large boxes. Yep, we knew that. Okay. Premium at Mastery missions. Okay, there's a new set out, so you're going to need to put the codes in if you're chasing those things. Okay. Tank rewards, Battle of the Bulge. Oh, very cool. So we are going to get a new tank. Oh, wow. Okay, folks, that's cool. All right. Tank rewards is going to give a Panther M10. Another tier 7 tank. The Scorpion was really easy to get. We'll see how easy. You never know. But anyway, that's a great reward, guys. That is a fun, very cool premium tank. So I like that. Good. On-track missions. Wow, that was... You know what's not there? No mention in there of discount sales like for consumables, which all the other servers have got, but we haven't. My understanding, though, I think, and somebody can probably, because usually one of you guys knows this, I think our sale was at the end of Holiday Ops last time. So don't lose hope. I hope it's still coming. I'm not 100% sure if it is. I don't have any intel on it. But just hold on to your hats because we have until the 14th for that to happen. So don't go crazy. So far, it's been pretty good. All right. So that was kind of a letdown. There wasn't a lot going on there. All right. So January's it's there. Vehicle yearbook. If you want to look at that, this is pretty impressive, guys. And when I say impressive, just by the sheer numbers, you make your own opinion on whether it's good or bad for the game. But look at how many tanks came out. Mostly premiums. I think there's at least one tech tree. I think the Brit tanks are included here. The wheeled tanks are. The Lynx is shown. The 90, the FL, yeah, there you go. So those are tech tree plus 1 premium. I thought the Brit tanks, were they not here? Did they miss those? Are they trying to erase them from the history of the game? Did they miss the Brit light tanks on their Meet the Class of 2019? Are you? No, they did not. There's the Manicore. There's the Setter. Okay, they got them. They're hidden in there. There's the GSOR. All right, the Senlac. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's a lot. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 42. 42, what I'm counting there, new tanks added to the game, mostly premiums. You make the call on your opinion about them being mostly premiums. That's, again, another subject for another day. What's on in the premium shop? Let's go back and make sure we got this all sorted out over here. Okay, so remember, you've got to go to your mastery. There's the wave 4, so click on that and go click your codes. This is the XP bonus schedule I was just mentioning. The odd thing about it that kind of makes me scratch my head is it goes from times 5 to times 4 to times 5. I realize the times 5 are around the actual holiday and the times 4 is a nice bridge between, but whatever. Why not just leave it times 5? Bizarre. Bizarre, but I guess they're trying to make the holiday a special kind of thing. You can get the T28E. We'll look at that in the shop in just a minute. Calendar day 25 is the bloody 7501K, which I do not understand. Unwrap your boxes. What is this? Just another ad to buy boxes? Large, it's all here. Yes, it's just another ad. 27th. They just did it again on the 27th. They dropped the same. They did. It was okay, folks. Buy your boxes, would you please? All right. How the heck am I going to maintain being a CC if you don't go out and buy the boxes? Oh man. So the PSA is obviously only buy the boxes. if you can afford it. I think, why do I feel like I have to put that out there? Probably not for my audience, but let me just CYA in there, all right? Little cover of CMA, cover my arse. I think that goes without saying for anything that you're going to spend your money on, folks. At least in my opinion. I think that's everything there that we want to look at. So I'm still disappointed by the sneak preview. I feel like I didn't get to sneak a preview of anything at all. There's the boxes. They're still there. There's the tank. I don't understand why. That's the 25th. There's the 30 days. Why would you buy that right now if you bought a bunch of boxes? These are all intelligences unknown to me at this point. This is still out there. That was actually a pretty good deal, as we have noted in the past, as is this one. Slightly less as good a deal as this one. But once again, there's boxes, so I'm not sure. Somebody would have to do the math on whether this is actually worth more than the boxes. Isn't this the one that has the missions? Yes, this one has the missions you have to go through to get your extra gold. I've touched on that in the past. That's not really a great deal as far as I'm concerned. It is if you manage to get them all done. Premium with I can use a coupon on that. What do we got on vehicles? This is not much, guys, because there's just the boxes, right? Paul Barnett has a pretty funny thing about this, the double-barreled tank. We'll get to it when we look at his interview. Oh man. So T-28 with the F-30. This is a weird tank. It's a tier 4, but it's got this massive gun on it. It's not as fast as the regular T-28, so the extra gun weight slows it down a bit, but it does hit hard for a tier 4. If you're in the market for a tier 4 premium tank. We've noted all these in the past. There's nothing. Oh, this is interesting. Actually, this is new. This is the Primo Victoria without the Primo Victoria skin on it. So it's called a Sturv 81. If you've seen them running around, that's what it is. Basically another Centurion. It's a Swedish Centurion. And I'm still considering I might buy that. This is in relation to, I believe, Care Package Lima, or whatever the one is out. By the way, that's out now if you didn't know that. Remember the Twitch Prime Care Packages? The new one came out on the 23rd, so make sure you go and grab that up. You're going to get a commander, a badge, a rental of this, I believe, the Sturv 81. And we'll get to the commander in a minute because I think it's an any nation commander, which is the best kind. Some of them are locked to a nation for the Twitch Care Packages, but the ones that are allowed to be any nation are pretty awesome. Definitely worth it. A Brothers in Arms 0 skill. I think it also has 2 extra skills automatically. This is, if you are, I don't know if there's anyone who doesn't know this. If you are an Amazon Prime customer, you're already paying for Amazon Prime, you have Twitch Prime. You need to link the accounts, then link your Twitch Prime to your World of Tanks. It's a little Google foo. We'll take you there. I've showed how to do it in the past, and you're getting free stuff every month. There you go. I mean, you're already paying for Amazon Prime, so why not get your Twitch Prime out of it? And then when you do that, give me the sub. Unless you like somebody better, give them the sub. But if you like my content on Twitch or my content here, and you have a Twitch Prime sub sitting around, I would love to have it. I will put it to good use. We will continue growing the channel. We'll talk about that a little while later on how that's been going. So I like that. That's pretty cool. That's a good tank. I've enjoyed that one. Played a couple games with it. And I think that's about it, really, here. Specials is probably just more boxes and things we have seen. The things we have seen. The Schmaltrum is out there, special for me. There's some exclusives. I don't know if you're all seeing the same things I see. I don't know what the exclusives are from. I don't know if these are all Twitch exclusives or what. Unknown. Unknown. Somebody probably knows and can put it down in the comments. That is it for the website. Let's go ahead and head over to the UI and see what's happening. Well, how's everybody doing with your festive atmosphere? I've been sitting at 10 for a while with the plus 50%. Man, this is nice. I'm going to hate to see that go, the plus 50% credits, because you can play nearly any tier, fling gold, and not lose money or make a little bit or make a ton if you're running premiums. Get that to 50%. Get your clan to drop a credit reserve or clan reserve, whatever it's called, and then run your own personal reserve with credit, and you are making bank. You will making bank, and you'll be sitting at something high like me with 52 million credits up there. Now, something I noticed, just let's go on a tangent right now. Something I noticed with a lot of streamers, and I don't know, and YouTubers, and I don't know if this is on purpose or it's just a consequence of how the overlays are set up, but most of them have all this information covered up. And I think in general that's really on purpose. We're going to talk a little bit about that when we get to the numbers at the end. So I won't bore you right now, but I think there are reasons why they cover up a lot of this stuff. They're very psychological kind of stuff, very interesting. Anyway, that's a little side note for there. So Festive Level 10, I've got all the stuff. I won't go through all of this. I think everybody understands how this works. Remember, you got to go get your present. Who's been disappointed in this? What a cool concept. What they don't give you anything. It's one extra decoration. And some ×5 missions, which are good for grinding. So there's some extra ×5 missions they will give you, but then it's just why don't they throw you out maybe a kit or two, or every now and again you get a day of print? I don't know. There's so many options they could have gone with right there. It surprised me at how relatively lame, other than the missions, that whole idea turned out to be in execution. So missions-wise, wow, guys, there's just not much going on. I think there might be an event coming up. I'm hearing some things, so I can't prove it, but there might be an event coming up in the new year, right at the beginning of the new year. So we got New Year Bustle. These are how you get your small boxes. Seen some good stuff in there, actually. Guys, large kits are probably the best things that happen relatively frequently. You're going to get a lot of small kits. No problem there. Large kits every once in a while. I've seen a day of premium. I don't know if I've seen any free XP or any kind of experience drops on that. Free XP would probably be the only one they could do, otherwise you wouldn't know where the experience, what tank it was going to, because it's just coming out of a box. What else did we see? Days of Premium, somebody else said, I don't know if any equipment is dropped, but I know there's tons of directives. You're getting tons of directives as well, so that's been cool. So that's New Year Bustle. I think we should get I think these are weekly or every 5 days or whatever they've been dropping. I didn't pay close enough attention to know these ones right here have been resetting. I don't know how often they've been resetting, but there are daily ones that reset daily. So you've been able to get quite a few of the ornaments out there. So that's New Year Bustle, Tank Mastery. That's what I talked about. These are the new ones that I just set up today. We've got the Martyr, SP1C, 5100, and the WZ120. Player tank class right, standard stuff right there. Nothing to add. There's your Lima missions. Once again, it has to be said, somebody is playing a lot of the King Tiger Captured. If that is still a requirement for the first one, I don't remember. I haven't been paying attention to those too much. Tournament missions, other missions. These are the ×5s. There's also the thank you for your service stuff for, I believe, the guys who have done the ID Me act. So there's still some bonuses to experience and crew experience and whatnot. And of course, premium missions are the premium missions for having premium. Like I said, not a whole lot going down right there. Let's see. That should be it. You know, discounts for us, I touched on a little bit earlier. I think they're probably going to come later in January. Okay, not like late January, but later in the holiday ops towards the end. Just hold out for those. Hopefully it happens. We'll see. It's going to be a real big bummer if they don't give it to us at all, to be quite honest. These lights are really bright. Hold on. There we go. That's a lot better. My face is just glowing white. Okay. That is it for missions and specials, guys. Let's go on to subjects du jour. We got a lot of really interesting things going on in subjects du jour. First things first is we've got the Pearl River and Berlin fly-through. At least the initial ones are showing up. And you can see the graphics change that they're doing. We'll get this going. There we go. In development. It's in development. And we've got Pearl River. You know, is it just me, or does the first part look better than when they go to the new graphics? And what am I missing here? It's I'll be honest, I don't know why, but maybe it's just my monitor. It is on. I do have this on my second worst monitor, so I don't know. But Pearl River was never great, guys. Of all the maps that they've taken out, for this one to be the one they're putting back in, I don't know. Pearl River was another of those 3-channel maps. There was 3 places to go, and that was it. They actually redid that one at least once, I think twice during its run. They re-recorded. In fact, I know it was twice that they redid it, and then they just removed it completely because people disliked it so much. Now here's Berlin. My point on Pearl River is we'll see. I don't know. It's a 3-channel map. That's what it was. I don't know how much better it's going to be. Here's Berlin. Berlin has a great big river going through it. Looks like the middle of it. That's irritating with bridges. There it is. I don't know where that is on the map because they didn't put the mini map down to see if that's a corner of the map or the middle of it or what's going on with that. There's a big courtyard. That's a no man's land. No one will ever drive in there. That's kind of cool. A little bit of cover and ways to drive up on stuff. All right, so there's a big picture of it. I mean, that seems like the middle, right? Do we have some kind of river going right through the middle? I don't know where the spawns would necessarily be. This is all very open area, so I don't know, maybe it's hard to tell. So anyway, that's what those 2 things look like right there. And they are inbound. There's no timing on any of those that we're aware of right now. Let's see. Okay, let's go to... Hold on, let me think. I'll be right back. All right, how to decide how I want to do this. We're going to do the forum post of the day and talk a little bit about Brit Lights and why we play. And then we're going to, because I think it's related to some extent to the Makarov and Paul Barnett videos and interviews that we're going to talk about in just a minute. So they're all sort of interrelated. But I found this one to be interesting. This was a forum post, and it says, Quickie Baby changes his mind about the Mana Core. Now, I do try to avoid... I certainly don't want to get into fights with other CCs, especially giant ones like him. The only reason I really bring his name up is because that's in the title of the post. And it was the genesis for the discussion on the forum about the Brit Light tanks in general and the Manticore specifically. So Quickie Baby made a video quite a while ago when the Manticore came out in the rest of the line and said it was a terrible tank. And he had a lot of good reasons, as does everyone who thinks it's a terrible tank on the surface. You all know that I consider the Brit Light tank line to be okay. Some of them I like more than others, but my position on them has always been that they're not nearly as terrible as the legend would have you think, or the collective wisdom, such as collective wisdom is, and that because of large community contributors such as Quickie Baby and others who really came down hard on the line at the very beginning, they never really had a chance. And at this point now, the perception is the reality that they're crap. And while there are arguments to say why they are not nearly as good, there are plenty of arguments to say that they're actually doing fine. And I have always been one to say, let's look at the stats. It's going to take a while to find out. And so far, based on all the numbers, yeah, they're not burning up the place. They're not the best. They're not the top. They're certainly not at the bottom. And the only one that really is vying for worst in class is the Setter. You'll have to read this forum post, because I'm not going to get into all the different arguments. They're very good, interesting, compelling arguments on both sides about what stats you would look at, tank curves, who plays them, what's the samples. I mean, it just really gets into a lot of the stats pieces of it, and that's all. It's all good, but it's all kind of grognard stuff. The point is that the numbers, in general, are showing that they're doing okay, which nobody, I think, is arguing they're the most amazing light tank. But as soon as you say they're okay, you're not saying they're great. You're not saying they're better than the best light tanks. As soon as you even say they're okay, dogpile, right? Here comes the collective wisdom. They are terrible, and you are wrong. I mean, it is actually kind of amazing. And it flies completely and utterly in the face of the evidence. And most of the evidence that comes out, as far as, once you say, well, the stats say it's okay, there'll be like rationalizations and explanations about how that stat doesn't really mean that it's good. It actually means it's bad, or whatever the machinations and mental gymnastics are required to fit a preconceived notion of their terrible tanks. It's absolutely amazing. The next thing will be discussing the stats, and it almost always comes down to the DPM, and in the case of the Mana Core, the shell count, which granted is too low. It's very interesting because it doesn't really take into account what the strengths of this tank line really are, which is size, pretty good speed, camo, the ability to get to crazy places that other scouts can't get to. Does that make it a great tank in the meta? No, it doesn't make it the greatest tank in the meta. It makes it a usable tank when you use it in the way that it has strengths, or you use it with its strengths. Anyway, that's kind of my point on the Brit tanks. They're not awful. You know, and that's not a high bar to reach, but people won't even let them reach that bar because, by God, they're bad. Because somebody said so. In general, the waters were poisoned by these very big community contributors. And I find just the whole package of that, I know that was wide-ranging, but it's all interrelated. And to me, it's fascinating how the community contributors can really kind of set the stage on these things. And in this case, really, at the end of the day, poison the waters on an entire tank line that, while not being amazing, are actually not that bad, you know. But the collective wisdom is that they're terrible, and I don't think they ever are going to recover from that. It's not going to matter how much I say it. True Voodoo has said it before. Some of the other CCs. So I haven't really got to the impetus for this whole thing. But what happened then is Quickie Baby just very recently, in the last week or so, put out another video and basically said, you know what, I was wrong about the Mana Core. It's not horrendously bad. It's okay. And you would think, you would think that, I mean, I don't know. People, go read the comments on his video. It's incredible. They are so all in on the idea that these are terrible tanks. They have sold everything to go down that road, that even when the guy who kind of started the problem says, it's okay, they go ape shit. They can't handle it. There's no way there's no way that tank is even close to barely average. It must be the worst tank ever, by God, because it's the Manta Corpse. It's incredible. I mean, sacred cows, my friends. Sacred cows, they are hard to kill. They are hard to kill. It's impressive how locked in people are to that very idea, and they won't even accept someone saying it's okay. And I'm loving it. I mean, I am loving it because this is what I've said from the very beginning. And maybe in a year and a half or a year from now, they'll all filter down to the bottom. But I don't see that. There's enough numbers out there. They're not great, but they're not anywhere close to as bad as people say. Now, in the case of the Mana Core, let's just touch on this. It does need a few things. Number one, the devs effed us by giving it a 2 crew. I have said this before. I cannot wrap my mind around why they would do that. They're going to say something like historical realism or any of that kind of BS. But, dude, your game, the way it's set up, the way your crews are set up, the way your crew system is, you absolutely screwed your customers at the highest tiers by doing that. It's inconceivable. Anyway, that I do feel strongly about that part on the Mana Core, and that has nothing to do with the tank, the way it's mech'd, it has to do with the way it's mech'd, but it doesn't have anything to do necessarily with its performance, but it does kind of tangentially, because you've only got 2 guys to put all the skills on that you want at tier 10, that you need at tier 10, that all the other tanks have at tier 10 with a 3 crew setup. That's bad enough. 3 crew is bad enough, but at least it's workable. But now you're just piling so many skills onto 2 guys that it takes much, much longer for them to get to the same relative skill level of other crews. Such a screw job, an absolute screw job. And why they haven't just changed it, it's unbelievable. Anyway, the other thing is ammo count. Yes, it needs another 4 to 6 shells. It's stupid for it to have such a low capability on shells. It's dumb. It's dumb. I think it's got one of the worst, if not the worst, potential damage. Unbelievable. But anyway, those are the only 2 things. The rest of it's an interesting tank. I would probably prefer a little more gun elevation, but that's the way the thing was designed. It's a weird little tank. You're not going to get as squat a turret if you increase its gun elevation, it's going to need a little bit taller turret or that back part, because what happens is that back part hits the deck, the back deck. So unless you just allow it to clip through, and it's unrealistic, I suppose you could do that too. Don't go crazy on the realism, guys. I got it. It's not a tank simulator. I am well aware of that. But there you go. Forum post of the day. I highly recommend you watch, if you're interested in this at all. Go watch Quickie Baby's video. It's linked right here by Tankful of Bourbon. He started this. Good forum poster. Enjoy this guy's forum posts. I think he's been around with us as well. Check that out. He's got it linked. Watch Quickie Baby, and then read through this, because there's actually a lot to learn in here on both sides. There's guys bringing up some really fascinating, interesting points about tank curves and what they look at and what they consider to be compelling stats. I don't happen to agree with all of them, but it doesn't matter, because you don't have to agree with everything, do you? So check it out. All right, that's the forum post of the day and my comments on, CCs, their effect on the game, especially vis-a-vis the Brit Light, and specifically in this case the Manticore itself, and just kind of the interesting industry around the industry with that. Damage is done. And so then that brings me to the last thing I want to talk to in this segment, and that's the question of why we play, which now reach back to me playing all those tier 10 light tanks. And this was the impetus? I think that's the right word. Anyway, this is what caused me to go play the Manticore and then the tier 10 light tanks, because I realized I didn't play a whole bunch of those, and I thought, well, okay, let's see. We talk about it a lot. Everyone says, well, you might as well play a medium. There's no need to. I will tell you that in general, I agree with that, but especially at tier 10, I think that's right. If you are a pure competitive, I have to have my DPG. For me, though, it opens up a larger question of why do we play, right? Why are we all sitting here playing World of Tanks? We all have a different reason to do so. One of mine is just to have fun and have a challenge. I find the tier 10 light tanks to be challenging. Does that make them good tanks? No. It makes them challenging and interesting, and they can be highly effective, especially if they're top tier. If they're top tier in a 3-tier battle, they can be extremely, extremely effective. In a pure tier 10 battle, depending on the map, they can be irrelevant to difficult, right? Irrelevant to difficult. There's a couple maps where they can be very good, but if you've got 3 or 4 on the enemy side and you have 3 or 4, the opportunities for being that one big scout are very limited. Very limited. So interesting tank class. I have enjoyed that. For me, at this point in my World of Tanks career, it's more about just finding interesting challenges and trying out different tanks. But that's not everybody. That's not everybody. But I would really like it if other people would open their aperture a little bit more and understand that other people play for different reasons, and we're not all here just to be the DPG king. And the fact that the Manticore or some light tank isn't the greatest DPG competitive tank in the game doesn't really matter to everybody, right? It can matter to you, and that can be your primary consideration for what's good. And this is kind of what happens in this thread as well. If you come marching in and make declarations about it's a bad tank because it's uncompetitive and its DPG is crap, and you're all wrong, well, that's BS. Yeah, get over yourself. I mean, no. Sit down, Francis. You know what I mean? Open up your aperture. All right. That is what I wanted to say on that. That's all I got to say about that. Let's go to the Makarov interview and then Paul Barnett, because these are fascinating. We'll start with Makarov, and he is talking an interview. This is on the Armored Patrol. Check it out. It's a good blog. There's really three go-to blogs for me: the Armored Patrol, the Daily Bounce, and Rita's Status Report. Harkonnen, Rita, and this is a conglomeration. I don't know who actually is the main dude on this one. Sorry, Armored Patrol. I don't know. But anyway, this is Makarov, and I like the quote up here, guys. There are no more tanks. There's context to that, so just hold on a minute. So anyway, World of Tanks. World of Tanks is the flagship game of wargaming, okay? A kind of driver for other projects. It's the one that makes them the money, that bottom line. Everything else they've tried to put out, I don't know if any of them have been successful. I know World of Warships is successful, but none of them have been nearly as wildly successful as World of Tanks. A lot more people play tanks than World of Warships and World of Planes. True. According to him, the game's ships has its own very specific audience. Mainly in the World of Warships are held people. that's that's a little creepy. They're being held hostage. As for the game and airplanes, it so happened that there are competitors in the aircraft genre. Yes, that's true. And it was in this genre that they were more successful than us. Correct. They took away the aircraft audience, which turned out to be smaller than the ship and tank, it so happened. At the same time, we lost the opportunity to enter the market for the first time. Lost the opportunity, meaning that their entry was not good, and of course you can't come back for the first time again. First impressions cannot be created a second time. Well, I don't know if I completely agree with that. I think there's a huge market, obviously, for airplane games. It has to be every bit as big as tanks in the world. I think that's a ridiculous statement, but it may be a context of him saying that it's more fragmented because there are more competitors putting out good products. That's my opinion. I think there's a huge audience for airplane games. They're all over the place. And you've got the arcade kind, and you've got the actual simulator, hardcore simulator kind. You've got the kind of in-between kind. And for whatever reason, the wargaming came in with more of an arcade type, maybe a little too much arcadey, and those are a dime a dozen, and they come and go. It's the slightly more hardcore to hardcore simulations that maintain and have big audiences, in my opinion. So that was an interesting statement right there. So basically saying, yeah, our World of Tanks is our big one. All right. I think there is definitely a smaller audience for World of Warships. That just kind of seems like the right thing, I guess. Less interest in ships. One of the most difficult tasks for the developers of the game World of Tanks was the reconstruction of historical images and tanks. So they've spent a lot of time on the modeling, trying to get things right, the research, figuring out how they're going to put that tank into their game and all that good stuff. The fact that we managed to get data on tanks from China is simply the result of luck. So they said the greatest number of problems was associated with obtaining information on Chinese tanks. That was interesting. That whole thing, kind of it was really difficult. And then the English company Vickers was also reluctant. Those bastards. He throws a grenade at Vickers too. The fact that there are people in China who play World of Tanks helped them out, apparently. The expenses of the historical group were the highest. I'm not really sure. What is the point? It's hard to create stuff. Oh, okay. Yeah. The Chinese tanks were hard to do. You know what, dude? So the thing is, they were trying to crack that Chinese market, right? They're trying to crack into the Chinese market, and then the way they did it is they sold the rights to a Chinese company, and I don't know what kind of control they have over that. Whether apparently not very much, because the Chinese server seems to do what it wants. It has different tanks. It gives away a lot more. It sells more stuff. It's kind of the Wild West. So they spent a lot of money to break into the Chinese market, and they didn't get the return they wanted. That's a weird. I don't know if that's what he's getting at. How exactly that affects the rest of the World of Tanks markets, I don't know, other than a lot of money was potentially, I guess, spent on making Chinese tanks, which is not a very big line anyway. And they don't have any trouble making stuff up anyway. Plus, a lot of these are Russian knockoffs. I don't get that. That was a weird thing to get into, and I don't know. Rarely am I stumped, but that one's got me scratching my head. I don't know what his point is there. We screwed up in China? Is I mean, don't feel bad. A lot of companies have done that. Oh boy. How many users? According to statistics, about 10 million people regularly play World of Tanks. As for the company's revenue, the largest, if we take Russia, contrary to expectations, is given not by Moscow, St. Petersburg, and other big and rich cities, but northern cities. The hinterland. This is great. Our competitor is a... This is... Look, Wargaming. Maybe you don't let him talk anymore. Oh my goodness. Our competitor is a bottle. Oh man. All right, composure. Our competitor is a bottle of vodka in a warm summer evening. Oh. When we get to Paul, we're going to talk a lot here about the Eastern and Western influence. And when I say Eastern, I mean Eastern European in this case, influence on this game and kind of the loggerheads that those two ideas and cultures are at. And this is, was it a joke? Maybe it was a joke. Probably not a joke that doesn't have underlying meaning, even if it was a joke. So it's not a pure joke. Noting that wargaming games are popular where home entertainment is popular and there are no other activities that can brighten up leisure time. So we've done so well because in the north of Russia there's just nothing to do, and it's either get hammered or play World of Tanks, which doesn't seem like a really great choice. But sometimes we just beat out vodka in a warm summer's evening. But when it gets really cold, then dude, we're in, because now it's vodka and World of Tanks. Oh, dude. Okay, as I've always said, there are translations. This is translated to English, so the context and the syntax, we may be missing some important pieces of it. But that, one of two things is happening here with if I am this guy's supervisor, one of two things is happening when I see this. Either I'm of the same mind and I find it humorous, and that is the culture of the company, or I'm horrified and I tell him he can no longer talk. I want you to go run your development team or whatever it is that you do. Please do not talk anymore about the game. And if you're going to, I'm going to give you some talking points, which is what you do in a Western company. You must be on message, and you don't talk about how your game is competing with alcoholism. Holy, I told you this was going to be fun. Okay. This is the part where I tell Wargaming I love you guys. I do. We're going to get to Paul, but this is a problem, right? Their messaging and their packaging from that side of the Atlantic, translating to the Western Europe to the North American side of the Atlantic, is a problem. It always has been and continues to be. And we've talked about it. We've looked at it a couple times. They are looking into it and trying to figure it out. But why does my shirt always go sideways? It's because I'm always sort of leaning over. All right. We have weird fans. The King of Jordan is actively playing tanks. He invited me to visit the Tank Museum. I went. And presumably we had some vodka. The wider we take the scope of an active audience, the lower the average payment per player. This was wild. All right. So the wider we take the scope of an active audience, the lower the average payment per player. In Russia, I will not answer because I do not want to say how much we earn. Okay, good on you. You're probably not supposed to do that. The average payment is calculated using different methods. The difference across regions can be dozens of times. I wish he would have delved in that a little bit more. I know that he's not supposed to, probably, and I don't know how we would ever get this information, but we've talked about it a lot, that the per capita, per player payments in North America is much higher than any other region. Maybe not, probably higher than EU, because EU counts some of the poorer Eastern countries as well. What he's basically saying is that this is what's interesting about free-to-play. The more compelling you make it to a wider audience of free-to-play, which means it's easier to be free-to-play, the less per person you get paid. But that only stands to reason because you've just got more people. But the numbers guys are going to look at that and go, well, there's a certain point at which the effort to add more players doesn't bring in enough more money, is what he's getting at right there. So that's that kind of constant work in marketing and the way that they set up their game economy of trying to figure out, how do I appeal to as many people as possible to have that big free-to-play pool, but still the money I spend doing that brings in enough money from actual paying customers. And there is a point at which you start losing money, basically, by spending it to get a bigger audience, but the income is not increasing at that same rate. So, interesting. I mean, that's just free to play in a nutshell, right? It's in a nutshell. That's just how it works. It is. But interesting comment from him. The peak of the about peak of development. Here we go, guys. And this was another one of the reasons I want to bring this up. The peak of the project development has long been completed. Well. The project reached its maximum in 2015, when at the same time about 1 million people could be on the servers. Interesting. He explained a certain drop in popularity by saying, "The tanks are over. There are no more tanks." Well. That can be interpreted in multiple ways. There's no more real big lines to bring out. I think we all know that. They really have to kind of think about it, and it's becoming fake tanks. Like the Japanese TD line is almost wholly made up from whole cloth, if it even ever shows up. The double-barreled tanks are the next thing that we're aware of. Probably also more or less made up, minus a couple blueprints on the things. It can also be taken as we're not working on tanks that much anymore, or it's a sustainment for a few years. It's an interesting comment, and it is in bold here. Obviously, the who is this again? The Armored Patrol thought it important enough to bold it out as well. Don't know. Now the company is trying new projects. The Caliber shooter, and we bought the rights to the game Master of Orion. Well, I think Master of Orion, didn't they put it out and it didn't do well? It did okay. And then Caliber, I think, is doing nothing, from what I understand. It's a shooter, dude. It's a... How many FPS shooters are there? All of them. There's shit tons, and they're all the same, basically. How many good tank games are there? There's one. Basically. Exactly one. So, well, we'll get to that in a minute, because I have some thoughts on that. Opt out of esports tournaments. Since the beginning of 2019, Wargaming has refused the format of esports. It's difficult and expensive to contain teams of 15 people in the format of esports. Yeah. Spending millions of dollars on organizing tournaments, but that money didn't come back. Man, that's a little bit esoteric on money coming back. I suppose there can be large advertising campaigns where you might pick up money from guys advertising at your big events. So I don't know. That accounting for I'm making money by spending money on esports, that's not an easy one. But I'm sure that marketing guys and numbers guys have that kind of accounting in mind, and especially now that esports has been going on a while, it's probably a pretty well known idea of how you measure what your company might be gaining from spending on esports. Interesting. No comment in there, though, on the esports about the fact that people don't want to play an esport where there's so much random number generation. Not commented in there, but I think really it's probably both of those things. It's not really a game well suited to esports, number one, and number two, they weren't getting a return on their investment for whatever reason. It was an interesting comment. Targeted player portrait. He is like this. A man of 30 plus years playing in the evening after work. I would buy that in general. Youngsters are not playing our games. Tanks did not grow at the expense of the market when they came to it. I don't know what that means. And because they reach the adult 30 plus audience. All right, so that's what I was talking about just a minute ago. I'd get to it. Look, here's the thing. This is kind of interesting to me as I watch this game in particular in the industry as well. And as we grow older, and I'm kind of one of those obviously growing older gamers, I moved away from the FPS and the Twitch kind of things and the button mashing games. And I started to move into things like World of Tanks, which is why it kind of irritates me when we get more button mashing FPS kind of ideas in there, i.e. wheeled tanks. A screed for another time. But what's interesting about the older demographic is they tend to be more loyal to things, and they have a very loyal core here. The other thing that's interesting is that people grow older and enter into those ranks of older gamers that can be leveraged by a game like World of Tanks if it continues on and improves as it goes, and you can continue to add people. Now, are you going to continue to grow and get massive and more massive? No, that's probably peaked out on that because it's not new anymore. People do sometimes tend to go to the new thing. But because the older gamers tend to be more loyal, I think you can hold on to a lot more of that audience. So that's why I think World Tanks is going to last a bit longer. 5 years, maybe longer. Somewhere around 5 plus or minus, I guess, is my opinion. But because I think the older gaming thing isn't really solidified, and as more and more people are gamers and they get older, I think there's an opportunity there for companies that see that to go, you know what? Let's build this game that is a brand loyalty thing. And there is no end to it, really. We just improve it, make it a little bit better, move it along, and people will continue to play it. So I thought that was kind of interesting. I hope they don't just abandon it simply because they want to do something new. Surprise! Today, according to Makarov, the cost of promoting World of Tanks is less than the cost of production. Our player must be constantly surprised. The same things work for a couple of years and then either go to a plateau or don't work. I have to tell you, Makarov, look, I actually completely disagree with that. We don't need to be constantly surprised. In fact, we could use less surprise and more iterative improvements. What do you guys think? Would you give up, some of the surprise we didn't do the Halloween event for a few better improvements in the UI? Some creature comforts, some of the functions that don't work very good being improved, some balance, maybe, take some of your overpowered premiums and balance them. Wouldn't iterative improvements be a lot better than surprise we didn't do a Halloween event, right? That was a surprise, right? It was going to be a new event. Now, I think you guys are wrong, man. I think that is a idea that applies to the younger generation of gaming, and it completely and utterly misses what their core audience wants. I really do. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that's bollocks. And you're missing the boat, guys. You are missing the boat. It's a big boat. It's out there, but I don't know what you're doing, but you're missing it. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think down below. Would you rather have constant iterative improvements over the year and some balancing kind of work, or would you rather have a surprise? It's a cool Halloween event. You can answer both, but let's say that you can only have one or the other. There's no necessarily reason why you can't have both, but of course it's all money and development time and everything. But as far as that being a kind of hard and fast, no kidding, this is how it is, I don't agree with that. All right, let's move on to good old Paul, because he's got some interesting things to say that are kind of counterpoints and interesting points when you consider this this interview here. All right, I need another cup of coffee. This is definitely going to be a 2-cup of coffee talk here. We got Paul right here. This is on the World of Tanks NA YouTube site. We're going to listen to Paul, what he says, and I'll have some comments as we go.
Hello there, I'm back in California for a couple of days. I'm still playing World of Tanks, unlocking all the Christmas stuff I can. I thought I would talk about all the things that have happened on Tanks and how it's changed. Currently I'm working on a secret project over in London for Wargaming. It's going to be awesome.
Apparently not Tanks. Surprise! Okay.
But I have been looking at what Tanks has been doing. Actually, I've been working on it as well over in Minsk, Cyprus and Prague. And it's been interesting seeing the bits and pieces that we've North American influence seeping through the game.
Minsk, Cyprus, and Prague. Development teams scattered all over the place. You can do that in today's day and age. I have several friends who own companies that do development and things in dispersed locations. Some of them don't even have offices. It's just their employees working out of home. But it's not easy to coordinate. It's not easy to coordinate. It takes the right kind of people to do so.
But sometimes you can forget about them. So I just wanted to do a recap of the sort of stuff that we finally managed to get out, which shows you the intent of making the game even cooler than it was.
All right, he's gonna run through a list of stuff that he's managed to break free from the home office. Here we go.
Finally, double stack garages.
Double stack garages. That was a mod. How long ago did that come out? That was a year ago? Was it 2? That was a long time ago, Paul. Brother, thank you. That was a long time ago. He's going to run through a couple of things. And basically, his point is that some mods had some great stuff, and we eventually got them. From his point of view, it seems to be that he had to go fight for these things. From my point of view, I'm thinking, how in the actual F did it take that much effort to put in creature comforts from great mods? You can tell how popular they are by how many people download them. And downloading and putting mods is kind of an arse pain. So if you have a lot of people doing arse pain to make your game less arse pain, it might be something you would want to look into. Now, that being said, thank you. I like Paul. Straight shooter. I'd have never really had any issues with Paul. And it's not what he's saying necessarily, it's what is being revealed by what he's saying. The carousel mod had 4. You could pick 1, 2, 3, or 4. The reason it had 4 is because the modder went in and racked and stacked and did the mod and went 5, 6, 7, 8 is too many. But he gave you the option for up to 4. When Wargaming mech'd it, they made it 2. Why? There's no reason. It should have been 4. It makes no sense to make it only 2. Anyway, here we go.
I love double stack garages because I have so many tanks.
Me too.
And we got an improved zoom, so we no longer have to have filthy mods. I approved of that.
Maybe, just maybe, there was something exposed with that comment as to why we don't get mods added to the game. Here's what I don't know about mods. Is there IP involved? Is there copywriting involved? Is there some kind of negotiation they have to make with the modders? Or is the game legality and everything that they've built around it and the user's agreement built such that any mods you make are automatically Wargaming's IP? I don't know how that works. Maybe there's something to that. Maybe some of you guys are smarter on that than I am. It's not something I've looked into, but I thought the filthy mods thing was interesting. As far as the zoom goes, another no-brainer.
The fire direction indicators, so you know who it is who's hit you and where they came from. Much better than that red stuff, which I can't see because I'm colorblind.
What a great point. What a great point. And there's a mod. There was a mod, and I think it's actually in the vanilla now, to change it to colorblind mode, which is important for accessibility for people who are colorblind.
You can press, did you know you can press the Alt key and get an animated little tip on anything in the game. Ammunition, skin.
I did not know that. Did you guys know that? Hover it over something and press. Let's get this. See if I can do this right here. I'm gonna fail at it. There we go. Does it work on him? No. What about down here? Oh, we have to move him a little bit more. I need to. Here, we're gonna move Paul down here. All right. So, watch this. Oh, wait a minute. Why is my Alt key not working? Here we go. I got to bring it up. I got to bring my. There it is. Look at that. Now it's a little wonky, and it's the Alt key, and you have to hold it. So as with nearly everything they do, it's wonky, but it's there. It's there. He said nearly everything. It's not on everything, but anything that has like a game mechanic or something, you can do that. I didn't know that. That's cool. Now watch what he says about it.
Skills, tanks, anything you want. Move the mouse over, hit Alt, boom, up it pops. It's one of those hidden features we forgot to tell people about.
I love his candor here because there's some you can really get a sense of the you can really get a bit of a sense of that loggerheads that the two two sides, like not sides, it's not like they're enemies or anything, but the two opposing viewpoints, I guess.
We've also got the ability to do tank previews. They actually look really great, and they show you where the UI is ultimately going to go. And you can go in there and fiddle with the tank in Tank Compare. In fact, Tank Compare has one of those things that drives me crazy about tanks, even though I love it so. If you go into Tank Compare and you try to change the gun, if you need to change the weight or the turret, it'll highlight it and show you. It's exactly the sort of functionality that should be in the research tree, but isn't.
I've mentioned that on my channel before, man. That's exactly right. The Tank Compare is a cool tool, but I'm thinking, well, why can't I figure that out when I'm researching a tank? Why can't I figure that out by just using that same functionality on the tech tree? It's not there.
But don't worry, we will get there. Things come to those who wait. We've got a better premium account. Little known fact, the premium account in Russia is really there to reward people who grind a lot. But over here in America, we're not really interested in doing lots of grinding. We like to get rewarded if we give you our dollars. So now you get things like the Silverbank.
Okay, wow. So that is directly related to what we just talked about with Makarov. Isn't that interesting? The Russians just love to grind. No, I don't think they love to grind. I don't think so. I think they have to because they don't have the money to pay for it. And that is the customer base that they're dealing with, and that's how the game is mech'd over there. So those crazy Russians, they just love wasting their time grinding. Aren't they cute? No. That's no. That they do something and that's the way it's set up doesn't have a whole lot to do with whether they love it. I don't think they love it. I really don't. We have the disposable income, right? That's a great problem to have. First world problems. What to spend our disposable income on. So they've sort of... and I didn't realize this. I didn't realize that the Russian premium didn't give the same stuff. Isn't that weird? Isn't that weird? Or not, actually.
So you get some silver credits coming your way. You can ban maps. Goodbye Paris, which is always a good position to take.
Paul doesn't like Paris. Oh boy.
You also get bonuses and special missions just for being a premium account holder. It's not perfect, but it's loads better than it was. You can also trick out your tank. We've got all sorts, decals and emblems and paint and special looks that came up, and then special prepared systems with special camo things.
With paints and decals and special looks and special... He can't even name the damn things. I can't. I play it all the time. I can't remember if it's a damn... What is it? A 3D style? A paint job? I don't know. It's it's very confusing.
I think they're amazing. We should sell them, obviously, but you can get to unlock them through events, which I do think is really great. We've also removed lots of nickel and diming. You no longer have to spend gold to rename your crew. I think this is really great. And we've got directives that you can finally buy for in-game currency. Now, if you...
I didn't know about that. You can rename your crew. Was it silver? I'll have to look at that. Let me know down in the comments. I have no idea about that. I don't bother, and a lot of people really enjoy that kind of thing. I don't really care, but it's a cool functionality, and for people who like it, good. And it's nice you don't have to spend gold, because I think you had to use gold in the past. Credits for directives, that's got a mixed opinion, I think. I know there's a lot of people that are kind of upset that now it's a bunch of credits as opposed to bonds. So I think they were buying a lot of those directives with bonds. People who aren't really concerned about getting tanks for bonds or saving up a bunch of bonds, I think were burning bonds to run directives, and now they're irritated that it's digging into their silver. I sort of thought it was a good idea, but I can see their point. I can definitely see their point. This is actually a larger problem for me, which I've said multiple times. Why does the economy have so many different damn currencies? You know what I mean? The bonds thing for me was a mistake from the get-go. It was a non-starter. Just make these tanks that you want to be rare cost lots and lots and lots of silver. And it's just one currency. And then you can sort of figure out your economy without adding another X factor into it. And now, why did they not make all of the directives for silver? Why were the crew directives determined to be for silver, but the equipment directives were determined to be for bonds? Well, I assume it's because you have improved equipment for bonds, and the directives can improve equipment. I don't know. It makes no sense. All right.
Never use directives. It wouldn't surprise me.
Good point here.
There's special things that give you like temporary perk boosts. On the tank, they're at the bottom on the far right of the garage.
Over there.
Click on them. You've probably got a load in your hangar you've never used. Try them out, and now if you want to get some more, you can actually pay for them rather than doing ranked battles. And you can pay for them with in-game currency, not gold. Bonus.
I don't know if you caught this, but rather than doing ranked battles, amen. Preach on, Brother Paul.
You've got in-client purchasing. Now, it may not seem like a big deal to you.
This is
but
great.
Ages ago, we tried to get a button to allow you to go to the shop in the game. And you would think that we were asking people for Revolution and chopping arms off. We finally got it in, and we were told that's the best we could ever do. And then
that's it. It's not possible. It's too hard. We can't change our UI to put a store in there. You just don't understand. This technology does not exist. Oh, bollocks.
Lo and behold, I'm playing the Christmas event, I want to buy some boxes, and I can buy them in the client. This is revolutionary stuff. We are charging to 2005 technology at breakneck speed.
Oh, Paul, I hope you don't pay for that one. That was awesome. Soon, my friends, we will enter 2005.
We also sorted out Type 5 ammo, eventually, finally-ish. Look, it takes a long time to balance these tanks, but they are doing it. The tech tree cleanup has been happening. I went over to Minsk and asked them very nicely if they could make a couple of tech tree changes. Some of them were logical, like we had tanks that led to tanks that made no sense. Some were combinational lines that didn't work. Great news, they were already on it. They're already thinking about it, but the tech tree is kind of tricksy. But if you want to see a tiny piece of it, in the British line, you would go up to the Matilda as a medium, and from there you could only go into the heavies, the Churchills, which was a bit crap. If you wanted to go to another medium, the Cromwell for instance, you had to go all the way down another line. It made no sense. They moved the British line so you can get from the Matilda to the Cromwell. I know it's a tiny thing. I know I'm English. But think about the point we're making.
I let that go for a while because it was a long explanation for the fact that they took a line and they drew it from the Matilda and it went to the other heavy and then up to the Cromwell. And he does a long explanation about how that took a long time for him to convince them to do, and presumably other people with common sense. Wow. Why is it so hard? It shouldn't be. It really shouldn't be. This is an amazing interview, man. I mean, I absolutely love it. And it's a great insight into what they're dealing with. And it's not... Look, I can sit here and say I know how to do everything. I don't. I have opinions and I can give them. But I feel like common sense would indicate some of these things would get done differently, but our common sense is different than their common sense. And this is the point of this whole video, is that he is working on that. But wow, is it slow. And some of these things he's talked about, I don't know how long ago they were. This is not something we've done in the last 6 months, most of these things. These are things that got put in 2 years ago. What the heck has been going on since then?
Being able to communicate with the team, show them things, and get them to change things for the better. We retired old tier 10s.
Communicate with the team. That was important. That's one of the reasons why it's hard.
I actually like the way we did it. We took crap old tier 10s, or ones that are a bit wonky to play, and then we said they're going away. If you've already got them, you'll keep them, otherwise they're gone. And then we brought out the black market, and we brought out ways for you to get hold of them.
I think it was crap. I think it was a terrible way to do it. I think that was awful. Why on earth would you remove a tank? Just split it off to 2 different tanks. If you want to add the Super Conqueror in there, leave the FV on the tech tree, and it's another thing to grind. It's already in the game. Well, it was uncomfortable to play. What? I love that tank. That's the FV, the heavy tank version. What a great fun. It's interesting. It's fun. Why would you remove it? It makes no sense. If it was completely overpowered, Chieftain, I'm looking at you. Of course, that's a reward tank, isn't it? Then yeah, either remove it or modify it, buff it, nerf it, whatever it takes. But we removed it, and then we allowed you to have another way to get it. But that's stupid. Leave it in. It's now extra content. It's another branch. I don't get it. Makes no sense.
I thought it was fabulous. Mods got legalized.
I did not.
For those who don't know, you can actually go to our website and download clean mods that are safe and enjoy your game. But more importantly, we took a lot of those features and put them in the game. People don't remember, but we used to not have an artillery camera. Now you do. They used to not have all the little mini-map aids. Now you do. That's how we got the double carousel for the tanks. All great stuff. And then we put blueprints in, which is a typical World of Tanks idea. Good on paper, not particularly great in how we put it in. Not for want of trying. The UI is really good. The way you get it's really good. The concept's really good. But having to get those nation blueprints makes you want to chew your own arm off.
Makes you want to chew your own arm off. That's true. There's always been a complaint since those came out. How the heck do I get these national ones? Here's the thing. I can't get anything other than universal because I've unlocked everything on the tree. Now, I wouldn't expect to get tank blueprints, obviously, because I've already unlocked them. But I can't get national ones. Why? Why don't they drop? I only get universal dropped. That's insane. And then he says, well, let's hold on.
Thankfully, the Christmas event turned up and fixed it all. I just spent nearly 400 blue...
Fixed it all? It didn't fix it. You gave us 60 from every nation. Thank you. Cool. Not fixed. Did you change how they drop or how they... That's not fixed. That's a Band-Aid. That's... Holy shit, I just chopped my finger off. Let's put a Band-Aid around it and put it back together. Well, you need some stitches and some medical care and then some rehab to get the finger working again. And so no, not fixed. Unless what you're telling me is we have a different way of getting them, as in they drop correctly or better now. I don't. That's not fixed.
Blueprints in less than 10 minutes because I finally got the nation ones.
Thank you.
Well done, Minsk.
That is good.
We've also got double-barreled tanks. There's a free one in the Christmas boxes if you're lucky, or if you...
I stopped it too soon. We're going to back it up ever so slightly because you need to hear this whole thing. You ready? Here we go.
Christmas boxes if you're lucky, or if you just buy enough of them. I don't know which way it is, but...
Oh, wow, dude. Really? Holy cow. All right, set yourselves off, gambling guys. Anti-box, anti-loot box, it's gambling, guys. Go ahead. Go crazy. Paul. You know not what you do, Paul. Oh man, should we listen to that again? I'm gonna do it again. Here we go. You ready? Here we go.
We've also got double-barreled tanks. There's a free one in the Christmas boxes if you're lucky,
Free?
or if you just buy enough of them. I don't know which way it is, but that clearly means that we are going to go down the double-barrel route. I wouldn't be surprised if we get a double-barreled STI. What a thing of beauty that would be. I've even managed to create a decent Tier 8 TD for the US line, something I thought was impossible. Look, there's
Dude, that was last year, like the beginning of the year. TS5. When did that come out? Mid-summer? That was a while ago.
lots and lots of improvements coming. When I went over there and I spent the 2 years talking to Pankoff and talking to Max and talking to Boletsky and then meeting the game balanced people, Murazar's over there and Nikita's over there and all those people, I found people who care very.
2 years? What? I don't know. I'm not sure what happened there. I mean, was he working over there for 2 years and now he's back in the UK? Doesn't necessarily matter, but that's interesting because that time frame of all those things he just talked about, those are things that have happened in the last 2 years. A lot of them early in those last 2 years. Like lately, the things he's talked about, almost none of those are things that have happened very recently, other than things like the National Blueprints kind of idea and the double-barrel tank Christmas boxes that you can buy enough of and get the free tank. Anyway, and he goes on to talk about how they're great people.
Very much about tanks. Love tanks. They are trying so hard to make it a better game, but it is kind of like trying to turn around, not an aircraft carrier, but a glacier.
Okay.
But it's a glorious glacier. I'm getting confused. Look, there's more stuff coming. We've been at the table. We've made our voices heard, and you can see the North American influence coming through. I know there's not enough of it yet, but there's more on the way. Tanks is only going to get better. You're going to be part of it. I'm glad to be part of it. I'm going back to the UK to continue working on this new game. We'll be ready in a couple of years. Until then, I'll see you on the battlefield.
So interesting. New tank game? World Tanks 2.0, maybe? I don't know. I'm just starting rumors. I have no idea. Good on him, man. Definitely working towards things I think that the North American, Western European, Western side of their customers want. Very slow going. He's obviously bashed his head against the glacier, as he put it, on multiple occasions. Priorities are different, They've got a different market over there in Russia. Obviously, they've been highly successful. It's a big company, made a lot of money. But why it is that, I think that's some good background on why it is that it's so hard for them to change things. There's just so much going on in this big company, so many directions, that it doesn't seem to be very focused. And I want to go back to what I was talking about earlier, where incremental improvements vice these giant leaps, the giant 20-year leap kind of ideas or the 100-year leap. I think if they concentrate a little bit more on that, and what's interesting is that is a more modern business concept of the incremental improvement vice the next big thing. And that kind of has been in business one of the leading ways recently, anyway, in recent memory. The quality movement, things like that, has all kind of come to the idea of quality incremental improvements at regular intervals to a product, as opposed to trying to overhaul it in these massive sweeps because you've let things go for too long. And unfortunately, I feel like this is an imminent thing with the whole rebalance idea that we've got coming up, which I touched on, I think, last week. But anyway, I thought those two were really interesting. Let's go to the channel retrospective, man. Let's talk about how this year has been for Guido. Let's talk about me. All right. So happy New Year to everybody, guys. I hope your next year is as good as this one, or better if this one wasn't so great. I've had a great year. It's been a great ride with you guys. The community is fantastic. I'll touch on that a little bit later. But thank you to everybody for everything that you've done for me, as far as following, subscription, all that stuff. So here's some things that have happened to me this last year. YouTube, I've added 931 subs to YouTube. It's got me up to 1.7. That corresponded at least getting over 1,000 which is where I needed to be for the revenue sharing piece of YouTube. I got there after one of the scavenger hunts, and I got Klaus bombed. So once again, thanks to Klaus Kellerman for making that happen. Basically, Klaus Kellerman's Klaus bomb, in conjunction with being on a North American CC and doing the scavenger hunt, pushed me up over 1,000, and we've moved on to 1.7. My goal for this year is 2.5K. That's not really a high goal, but this is a saturated market at this point. It's a mature game. We'll see. I'm going to have to probably open up the scope of the channel and do some different things than just World of Tanks if I really want to grow it. And I think my aim, this is maybe getting off into some other territory I wanted to talk about later. I think my aim is, at this point with the channel, is becoming more of an older gamer channel and try to go to that community. Not that I don't love the young guys that are here as well and want to learn about World of Tanks, but maybe aiming it a little bit more towards the older, mature gamer. And there's just more and more of those every day, right? As gamers age and get older, 20 years ago, you didn't have a lot of 50, 60-year-old gamers. Not nearly as many as you have now. I'm in the vanguard of the computer gamer generation that started off on Commodore PETs and Commodores and Atari 1600 or whatever. That kind of generation, that at the very first consoles and games, video arcades, that kind of thing. So I think that market is growing big time. So my revenue on YouTube went from 15 a month to 45 a month, which is a ×3 advancement, and it only started in March. So I was not doing any revenue sharing until March. That's when all this happened, in March. But Twitch, I went from 367 followers to 723. So I'm sorry, that math is incorrect. I got 367 new followers, and the total now is 723, so whatever that was before. 265 subs on Twitch, which is an interesting number. They show that on there. What I currently have is 70 subs right now. A good number of those are gift subs from very generous people over Christmas, so I'm going to lose. Those are like 1 month subs, so those will drop off. Hopefully some of those people will decide to stick around, but we'll see. As I've said before, if you have Twitch Prime, I'd love to have your sub. If you have Amazon Prime, you have Twitch Prime. But 265 different subs over the year, which is kind of interesting. So definitely some people coming and going. What I don't know is that might be the total for all the months. I didn't dig into that number. It was a weird number to me because it seems high. And I don't think I've had 265 different people. I think that basically that's monthly subs, 265 of those, currently 70. So that's the way I'm interpreting that. Because I was sitting at 25 to 30 for most of the year with Twitch. Average viewers is 15, but that's trending up. In the last couple months, it's been more like 25 to 30. I'm an affiliate with Twitch. In order to be a partner, you have to have 75 average, and there has to be more not embedded, like no kid coming to the channel kind of followers. So I've been watching some of the other new CCs who have been, a couple of them that actually made partner pretty quickly, but they do a lot of streaming, and that's my probably biggest failing on Twitch, is that just not having the time in the evening. That's where the audience is. I tend to stream in the morning and occasionally in the evening, and the audience is all in the evening. That's when people have their leisure time to do that. And that really does tie into that older, mature gamer generation where, like was said in the videos, people coming home from work and playing for a few hours, or watching somebody play, or doing both, playing and watching somebody play, all that good stuff. So Patreon, I went from 3 Patreons, I'm up to 9 people now on that. So I do appreciate that. The nice thing about Patreon, it's a monthly thing. I do have some exclusives over there on Patreon, guys. So if you want to become a Patreon, go check out the channel. You'll see that down in the description. But I will drop videos in there that are Patreon exclusives, where I dig in a little bit more into some of the more specific tactics and things like that. Plus, if a patron has a specific request, I will prioritize that and make sure that that person gets the information that they want. I opened a store this year, so I've got the little 1212 gaming gear store that's down there. Put a few designs in that. I actually sold a hoodie. So we're going great guns in the store. I bought myself a mug, a Miserable Monday mug, which I showed on stream, and I redesigned that mug. Actually, it's a lot better, I think, now. So check out the store. But yeah, we actually sold a hoodie. That's cool. Some more numbers. I dropped 400 plus videos this year. That's a lot. Gave away about 25 premiums from Wargaming, somewhere around 25. I gave another 10 from proceeds from the channel. So one of the things I do with the proceeds is I buy equipment for the computer setup to make sure that I can continue. I buy software for the editing and things like that to support the channel as I make the money there. A lot of it goes right back in. One of the things I did is about 10 premiums. Plus boxes this Christmas. I gave away 25 boxes, then a bunch of 6-box sets. One of you guys, actually, I think it was Beanhole, I believe, gave 25 boxes that we gave away. Actually, not 25, but $30 in the 3-box sets. Math in Public, whatever that was. 5 sets of 6, I think. Or 5 sets of 3. Anyway, five sets of $6 boxes with 3 boxes. I think that's how it went. Gave away some premium days, gave away some styles, things like that. I did 128 streams this year. I took one trip to D-Day Conneaut on Wargaming's dime. Thank you, Wargaming. That was fun. A lot of lessons learned there. I would do that quite a bit differently next time. I did not take nearly as much advantage of that as I should have, but I was still building all the social media presence and things like that. I built the social media presence this year. I've not leveraged it as much as I want to. I am going to do that this year as far as Instagram, Twitter, things like that. I know a lot of the older gamers aren't into that, but really, there's some pretty cool stuff in all of that stuff, and I do recommend it. Check it out, especially if you contain that kind of thing to things that you are specifically interested in. There's a lot to learn from those different social media platforms. So we're going to do a lot more of that this year. So the old engagement thing as we try to grow the awesome community, guys. You know, some things that you guys have sent some gifts to me. For example, the Braxton's flag right behind me. Check out Braxton's flag, or Braxton's flags, a little covered up by my printer right there, but fantastic. I love that thing. It's really awesome. They have a whole bunch of, they have a Facebook presence. I haven't actually looked at their stuff lately, so I don't know if they have a website or anything, but they are on Facebook. So check out Braxton's flags. Give them a little business if you can. And I do appreciate that being sent to me. I got a book, The War as I Saw It. Thanks to Night Dog for that. What a great book. It's a book about a World War I tanker and the way he saw World War I. It's very fascinating, actually, because it's not one of these necessarily doom and gloom. It's not necessarily glamorizing war, but he had an interesting kind of experience there. I would say that it's not necessarily the it's not necessarily the common wisdom idea of war. Black Rifle coffee. Somebody sent me this. Bofer. Black Rifle. Beyond Black. Any Black Rifle guys out there? Sponsor me. Your coffee is awesome. In fact, that's what's in here right now. I'm getting a little hyped up on it, though, because the stuff is strong. Anyway, veteran-owned. Check them out. Good coffee. Even if they don't sponsor me, but they should. All right, you know, because I have like 100 people see these videos, like almost 200 sometimes. So think of all the business you're going to get. I'm sure at least one person will buy some. Hey, we're getting bigger, all right? We're working on coffee mugs and T-shirts. I got a couple coffee mugs and some fantastic T-shirts. In fact, this is one of them. Friends of the Tank Museum. Pilgrim, thanks for that, man. I do appreciate that. What else have we done? We got higher production values because we had a video made by Fingolfin Films. So check them out. I plugged those guys as well. These are a lot of these guys, and then I had graphics work done. Noble Wolf has done some great graphics work for me. The GFLC emblem and the Miserable Monday emblem. And I mentioned both these guys because they're younger guys who have skills. And it's a possibility that they could turn these skills into, you know, some money-making endeavors. And what I've done is I've actually paid these guys for these things. And I don't think either one had really sold any of their work yet. And I think that's important, supporting people who are creating something of value to you. You know what I'm saying? And I'm going to talk a little bit about what I'm looking for in the future as well in this regard, because I'm going to open it up to everybody out there. But I think in one case I paid some in-game goods. The other one I think I transferred some money via PayPal because one of them had PayPal. Something to think about though if you're starting to sell your wares and things is to have some way in order to get currency of some kind to you. And I think that either Venmo or PayPal are two good options for things like that. Just throwing that out for anyone who wants to work with me if I'm going to end up paying you to do something. Or you pay me or whatever. I know that a lot of you are donating in PayPal to me, which is fantastic. It helps me get this going. And I'll talk about the numbers in a minute for those who want to stick around for all that. So higher production values because I've got a really cool intro. So that was good addition. The graphics work like I talked about and more to come on that. So things I bought this year that I needed to keep the channel going. The mic swing arm over here. I'm not going to be able to get it into, there we go. So there's the mic swing arm. Everything's clunking as I move that. LED lighting up there, which I needed for, see it getting brighter. Oh yeah, look at that. Lighting was always a bit of an issue in this room. So that's nice to have. So my face isn't always in shadow because I know everyone wants to see my face, don't they? No, I didn't think so. The desk itself, I put out a picture of that on YouTube. So I've got this, I'm bashing into my mic now. Much better setup for the work that I'm doing and the equipment that I've got. Nice big chair because my old chair was old, rickety, and broken down. Much easier to use this chair. The green screen, which I'm not using today, but I do use in my videos and my streaming, which is really awesome. Some content that I bought, like I talked about earlier for giveaways, I did use some of the money that I've made on the channel to send back to the community. About 10 tanks in total, as I said. And that's 10 tanks in value. Some of it was other things, boxes, stuff like that. So what about the future? What about the future? So I'm looking at more streaming and engagement. I talked about the engagement on the social media side, doing some more streaming, moving into some other games potentially. I know I've done a little bit of ships and planes. That was last summer. I tended to do a lot more. So I'm going to look into that a little bit more. What do I need? There's a couple things I need from you guys if you're so inclined and am willing to pay for it. So I need a graphic for my Twitch channel. And if you look down below, if you're looking at the Twitch channel, actually I can just bring it up and show it. Let's not be a muppet about this. Bring this thing up. There we go. Let me get my second monitor going. So I'm looking for, see this about me right here? Somebody made that graphic for me. I need something like that. Not necessarily that same style, but I do kind of like that one. What I don't need are any intellectual property or copyrighted symbols for any gaming companies right there. So I don't need that because if I start expanding into other things, then I don't want the Wargaming branding all over my stuff, and neither do they necessarily. So it would be, there's an about me, and then it would be one for support, one for my rig, one for YouTube, that kind of thing, right? So that I change these graphics up here, these title graphics, into something interesting down here. I've got this 1212 Gaming Store one there as well. I'm looking for something that's in the same kind of style to use for all of those different things. Like, I don't know. So I throw that out. If anybody's got any interest in that, I would be interested in seeing what it is. You can contact me on my Discord or through the game or through email, which is right here, guido@1212gaming.com. I need 2 more intros. I need a generic one that, once again, has no IP or copyright stuff. That one's going to be harder because the one I'm using now is definitely World of Tanks, and for my World of Tanks videos, that's perfect. But I need another intro that is more generic if I start working on other stuff. So because I don't want to use that intro, say I did a War Thunder thing. I don't want to use that intro for that. Or I did whatever game XYZ, you know what I'm saying? And the other one I thought of is maybe a separate one for Coffee Talk, since that's sort of my signature thing. Again, with a more generic idea. I know that's sort of nebulous, but that's what I'm looking for. Then I'm going to upgrade my rig this year. That's where a lot of the donations and the Patreon and things, the money I make this year, is going to go to upgrade. This is about a 3-year-old rig now. I think this is the 3rd year that I've owned it. So I need a new camera. I'm trying to get a new monitor. Let's go and turn off this second monitor thing. I'm trying to get a new monitor for my second monitor because the old one is a little bit wonky. A swing arms for the 2 monitors. I'm going to put those in the back so I can kind of move the monitors around, get them up off my desk, and then I can put them, portrait and landscape, whatever I need to do. So I get some swing arms. I need a new router. I've got a router that is just barely able to handle the speed of the internet that I've got right now, so it's an older router. I've had that for about 4 years. So I'm looking at getting a new router there as well. And then, of course, if I upgrade the rig, building a whole new rig, that'll be quite a cost. So those are the things that I'm looking at right now. We'll talk about numbers in just a second, just for giggles, because really a lot of what I'm doing here is the journey, right, of this content creation kind of idea. Hopefully some of you guys who might be doing that would be interested in seeing how it goes. All right. The last thing then is going to be the numbers, and I thought this was kind of interesting. Let me set this up. I'll be right back. So here's the numbers for a year, my year to date. This will change a little bit, and I had it projected for 2019 that I did a video probably 3 or 4 months ago when I finally started to expand the channel and reach into the Patreon thing and look for the donations and to do the things that I needed to do to make this project continue on, as opposed to just sort of being a hobby, turn it into something a little bit more and see where it goes. And I got a lot of great feedback from you guys, and that's been the impetus for growing the channel and doing all the things, all the streaming and things that I've been doing. And looking to do more in the next year. So year to date, these are the numbers. I'll just throw them out there, guys. I mean, this is it. This is everything. This is underneath the kimono. You're looking underneath the kimono here. And I think it's interesting because it's the journey. And if you're going to try to make a little bit of cash and then grow your channel, blah, blah, blah. What is it, what's your time worth to you kind of idea? And this is it. So year to date, I made $322 in YouTube, $773 in Twitch. I've said it before, Twitch is more lucrative. Back in March or last March or so, when YouTube changed their revenue sharing, it really cut the legs out from under what YouTube was worth. It was an unsustainable advertisement model anyway. Finally, somebody sort of understood that it was not sustainable and they cut it back. Twitch may be a lot the same. We'll see how it goes in the next year. Twitch is changing as well. They have some competition with YouTube, so who knows where that's going to go. But as of right now, I started making money in Twitch actually the whole year. I was a Twitch affiliate from the year before because it doesn't take much. Getting to partner takes a lot. PayPal donations, $345. Patreon, currently $128 total for the year. My $15 t-shirt I sold, hoodie that I sold. And then in-kind from Wargaming, about $964 worth of in-game. So none of that is cash money. That's just content, tanks, boxes, things like that, roughly. So the total, $2,500. And my projected, when I sat down and did this 4 months ago, was $1,650. So my efforts in expanding the channel and doing more with it have helped. And I think the most telling information here is that my per hour with the total here is $3.49 an hour of what I spent. And I'm probably lowballing 14 hours a week. I probably do more. I'm not counting time when I just sit down and play. That's leisure time. To some extent, it's practice, right? You sort of want to be kind of good at the game if you're going to sit around and talk about it a lot. You probably need to have a little bit of credibility, and that requires you play a bit. So, I've gone back and forth on whether my time practicing is counted as my time working, and I said no because it's leisure time, and it's not like I'm going to expect people to. I'm going to put it this way, and it's not what I mean. Expect people to pay me for leisure time playing. That's not really the point of it. A professional football player, he practices, right? And technically he's getting paid to practice, but what he's really being paid for is the games. So that's the way I'm kind of looking at it. But Coffee Talk takes me about 2 hours. This one's going to take me much more because it's much longer. Streaming about 6 hours a week. That's going up a little bit. Video creation about 6 hours a week for 14 hours. And that comes out to $349. If you minus the in-kind and just say pure cash value, it's about $2.17 an hour, which is pretty awesome. So we did better, guys. We did better than I thought. And then projected for 2020 is a little bit more. We'll see how it goes on this because I'm going to get a full year of YouTube. We'll see how the YouTube goes, whether it grows or not. Twitch, I projected it to grow a little bit, but we'll see. We'll see. So far, so good, but I think a big boost on the Christmas thing with the gifted subs really helped out. On that, looking good right now. We'll see how January, February, March go, and whether I'm able to keep up the streaming and all that good stuff. And then you can see the rest of them just kind of projected here on the rest of the stuff. This is probably being a little bit over optimistic on selling things, but whatever. We'll see if we sell some coffee mugs along the way. And I actually decreased what I thought Wargaming might give me because what I've seen in the recent past is they've really decreased their generosity to the CCs. It's not that they aren't still generous, and it's not that it isn't still awesome. It's just it was pretty freewheeling there for a little while. And from what I've seen on a lot of the stuff lately, they've cut back a bit. It's more rentals and things now than actually giving me 3 tanks. For example, for a while there, I was getting 2 or 3 Tier 8 tanks to give away. Now it's 1 and some rentals. So there you go. That's the Guido's Year retrospective, throwing in some of the end game stuff on, what the numbers look like. At this point, my time is better spent. I have focused a little bit more now that I sort of look at it. I've focused a little bit more on what I'm doing and what I spend my time doing. Obviously, I still have a full-time job, a family. I actually have a small business that's related to this, but it's not just this that I've been working on as well. So moving in a lot of different directions, and that's just my problem, not yours, obviously. But that's part of the journey, right? So as time is money, and as you work on things, you have to decide what the value is and what it is that you're working on. And this is not something that a lot of people do. A peek under the financial kimono is not a very common thing. Now this thing's trying to tell me it wants me to save something. Hold on. All right. It's not a common thing people do because, in business, a lot of times you don't just give everybody your financials necessarily, because sometimes people would get a little irritated how much money you're making. It goes back to what I mentioned a little bit earlier, though, but that was interesting to me, and it's why I went on that slight tangent. I knew we were going to talk about it later on. Is this stuff up here? I have 166,000 gold, and that is for 2 reasons. Number one, Wargaming gave me 200 boxes, large ones, and I bought another 75 with the money I've made here, so I could do an unboxing and show you guys what was going on. That's part of the system, the content creator. You have access to the stuff. You spend some money that you make on this to show people what's going on in the game. That continues to get you subscriptions. It's blah blah blah. But I have 166,000 gold, and I think people tend to cover that up because they don't want people to think that they're flush with all this stuff. You know what I'm saying? So that donations do come in, so they can say, "Oh, I'm the starving game player," all that kind of good stuff. I just think it's interesting. It's all part of the game. So my point here then is this is full disclosure. I think it's interesting. I think it's part of what I'm doing here on the channel as far as describing how all this goes down. For you guys who are trying to figure this out, hopefully that's good information for you as well on how it works, on what the numbers look like, especially when you're a small channel trying to get bigger. And I had no idea how all this worked, and now I have a pretty dang good idea on how all it works. And it really is interesting and fascinating. It's been a great ride the last year. You guys have been awesome, an awesome community. I haven't even touched on the whole idea of just learning how to play a video tent game and having people come to the channel and go down to the comments and be civil. I cannot thank you guys enough for 99.9% of you coming to the comments, and if you have a differing opinion, just putting it down. Sometimes it's a little edgy or salty, and I'm not worried about that. But it's never really, at least not very often, toxic, to use an overused word. So thank you to you guys for that, because that is hugely important, and it's a big part of what I think I'm trying to do here, is just have some adults sit around playing a silly pixel tent game and have a discussion about it. And we can disagree on how it's played. We can hopefully appreciate each other's opinion on why they like it and how they're playing it. And then we can learn, right? we can find. I've learned so much from you guys. Somebody putting down, "Hey Guido, did you know blah blah blah?" Oh crap, I did not know that. And to include being corrected when I'm wrong about something, which has happened plenty of times, right? To have somebody come say, "Well, you said X and it's actually Y," and then I'll look into it and go, "Well, shoot, I did not know that. Actually, that's a good point." Or maybe it's just a little bit wrong. "Hey, did you know? That sounds right, but did you know you could also do it this way and that way?" I'm like, "No, didn't know that either." So that's what we're trying to do here. That's been the goal, I think, from the World of Tanks side of the house, not just have a YouTube channel and do streaming side of the house. That's pretty much it, guys. Again, thank you for coming by. Thank you for watching this video. Thank you for being a supporter of the channel in whatever manner it is that you do. Frankly, just getting views supports the channel because that adds the ad revenue from YouTube and all that good stuff. But any other support that I get from you guys is just gravy and butter. I hope you're getting some value out of this. Well, don't tell. Don't tell me. I don't know. We always have to end with a good laugh, don't we? It's a pixel tank game at the end of the day, right? It's a YouTube channel talking about, at least right now, tanks. And not just like real tanks, but funny pixel tanks that can drive off cliffs and land on people, and you get a laugh out of it. All right, that's it. Clearly running out of things to say. That was a lot of yappity yap. I'm going to take the rest of my coffee, go ahead and edit this bad boy up and get it out to you guys, and we will see ya.